Developing a graphical user interface today in any integrated development environment consists of managing simultaneously three views. First, an external view which represents the final user interface with its final look and feel. Second, an internal view which shows the user interface code, either in a declarative markup language, like XML, or in a procedural programming language, like Java. Third, a conceptual view which describes the user interface at a higher level of abstraction than the internal view. The issues raised by this typical configuration are numerous. The developer needs to establish and maintain a mapping between the different views. It is not obvious to determine which views should be modified first, thus increasing the cognitive load. The developer needs to learn how the internal view or the conceptual view will affect the external view, which induces the trial and errors approach. If we look back in history, these three views have been introduced since a while. Probably the first one in history, Forms VBB, enables the developer to type in a LaTeX-like description the user interface code in the internal view in order to see the results in two external views, the final user interface with and without structure. In the external view with structure, any widget can be dragged and dropped to modify its look and feel, thus updating the LaTeX description. The views are synchronized in separate overlapping windows. Vista synchronizes two user interface views in four windows. The developer manipulates a task model in a conceptual view and sees the results in the internal views. All views are synchronized in tiled windows. TODOS++ merges three views into one single window: a conceptual view consisting of a UML class diagram, an internal views consisting of a user interface model with structure, and an external view containing the final user interface as it will look like. TLOD synchronizes a conceptual view consisting of task and domain model and a user interface model. UsiXML has three conceptual views: a conceptual view consisting of a UML class diagram, a conceptual view consisting of a task model, and a conceptual view consisting of an abstract user interface. UsiXML maintains the mappings between the views by recording the mappings in a table. GF3D shows three-dimensional links between the conceptual view consisting of a UML class diagram and an internal views consisting of the final user interface with or without structure. As opposed to maintaining several separate views, an animated transition ensures a smooth progression from an internal view consisting of the XML description of a user interface to an external view consisting of the final user interface. While editing, the developer can press the Control key to activate the animated transition, thus showing immediately the results without switching between windows. The speed of the animated transition can be increased by pressing the plus key while pressing the Control key, or decreased by pressing the minus key. When the cursor is located in the internal view, here the XML representation, an animated transition can highlight the code portion including this cursor and show how this is transformed into an external view, here a widget with a required field constraint. An animated transition could be established from an internal view, for instance the user interface code, and an external view, for instance the final user interface, or vice versa. Similarly, An animated transition could be established from a conceptual view, for instance a user interface model, and an external view, for instance the final user interface, or vice versa. In this example, only the portion of the model that corresponds to the first tag in the dialog box is animated.